of us from Veterans for Cannabis standpoint is to work with veteran-owned organizations and people in this industry that are going to make our lives better, right? It's
Yep.
about improving the quality of life in our veteran community. So our listeners understand, our objective is to hopefully establish a relationship with you all and work with you guys. Relief Genetics is a big deal to us, and making sure that that partnership is really helping our veteran community get better, improving our quality of life. So, I wasn't kind of trying to lead you into the question there at all, but I think that's really great. That was, it was a great answer, and that was really good confidence booster from our standpoint, knowing that you feel strongly about that application that we're going to launch next month as well.
Well, it's you'll hear myself and the other executives in our organization say this a lot, and this is something that we learned over time. There's three of us on the executive team that are prior military, and so all boats rise with the tide. And I think it's in this space particularly, it's very important to align yourselves with the right people, because in this space, there's going to be a lot of winners. And I don't mean just businesses. I mean patients. There's going to be a lot of winners, and there's going to be a lot of losers. I mean, you're seeing it on the news right now. If you're getting, quote unquote, medication from a unverified source, I mean, they just had the 11th death that's tied to vaping cannabis products. I just read that on the internet just now, right before we took this call. So, this goes back to knowing who you're getting your product from, knowing that the product, from beginning to end, where did you get your seeds from? Who's growing it? How did they grow it? What type of pesticides, chemicals did they put on the medicine? How did they process that? How was it tested for heavy metals? Because, hemp, cannabis just in general, has this innate ability compared to almost any other plant on the planet to be able to pull heavy metals out of the ground.
Right.
So if you're buying your product or getting your product, i.e. your medicine from someone that's not legitimate, not to knock anyone, you could be exacerbating your condition even more by smoking something that or tincture that's been untested.
Oh my gosh. So true.
For all of us in this space, I think we're all stewards of this space, so to speak. I think we all have a responsibility, not to each other. I mean, we kind of do, but we have a responsibility to our veterans, the brothers and sisters that are out there that are looking at this as an option. And unfortunately, in my opinion, and I think the tide is turning, a lot of cases, our brothers and sisters should have been looking at this as a first line of therapy, and rather than a last line of therapy. And I think that's just, socially, we're changing that, I think, state by state. But I think it's taken a long time. I mean, there's just too many anecdotal stories out there of medical cannabis. And, I was correct. I did the podcast last week, and the gentleman there said, I don't look at it as medical recreation because I think it's all medical.
I agree.
And so, from that standpoint, it's like we agree it's medicine, but everybody reacts to that medicine a little bit differently. And so, let's do all we can to ensure that we're getting the right medication, the right dosage for that individual patient.
Well, Andrew, exactly what you're saying is what we've been preaching for years now. The whole entire point is so that our brothers and sisters and the civilian community too can rest assured knowing what they're putting in their body is exactly what it's supposed to be, right? That's one of the reasons we do genetic testing, DNA sequencing on our industrial hemp-based products for our CBD products that we put out. Our Veterans for Cannabis grow operation is veteran-owned, veteran-grown, veteran bottled, veteran extracted. Everything's about it so that everybody knows they have confidence in that product, that what's going into them is exactly what it's supposed to be, right? So you mentioned earlier where a veteran can get something, they don't know what's in it. Well, one of the worst parts about that too is that a veteran can 3 out of 4 times get blue dream, if you will. We'll just use that, and I'm doing my air quotes now so all our listeners can see that. And 3 out of 4 times it works for them. It reduces their PTS, or it reduces their pain. And then that 4th time it didn't. Well, it smelled like blue dream, it tasted like blue dream, but it didn't work like blue dream. Why is that? It's because somebody's brother's sister's cousin said it was blue dream. Instead of going to a true medical dispensary or a quality third tested product that's a CBD industrial hemp-based product, and knowing you've seen a lab analysis, knowing it's the same every single time, and without that knowledge, you don't know what it is. So we're trying to end that and reduce that issues of ineffective medicine. The pharmacogenetics, I can't even get that right. It's horrible,
Just
right?
say PGX for short.
There you go. There you go. We can really focus on that and making sure that we're getting the true medicine into your hands. And especially in our veteran community, it makes a huge benefit to us because the VA's got to get on board, right? So it's up to you and I and Drew and everybody in this industry to start a call to action. We've got to start having open dialogue with our physicians that has to be smart dialogue too, not walking in saying, hey, doc, I want some of that weed, man.
Right.
You and I have talked about it. We've got to have good conversations. Hey, doc, I'm really, interested in learning more about medical cannabis. Do you know anything about it? Or, doc, I would like to reduce my opiate dependency. Will you monitor me while I use medical cannabis that I'm getting from my physician downtown? That's the kind of dialogue we have to change and start having around this conversation, which brings me back to the pharmacogenetics. Boom, I got it that time, man.
You did got it. You nailed it. But we really, in the business, we do call it PGX, so I'm not trying to take it easy on you.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So we've got to really do that testing and analysis. So I got a couple minutes left, and I'll make it real quick. One more devil's advocate for you. The conspiracy theorists in our community, they're terrified of getting their DNA sequenced and getting into the system, right? They don't want to get into the system. So what do you say to our brothers and sisters who don't want to do a swab and have the test done? How can we help educate them?
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, the data and I can't speak for all companies. Our company, the data itself is the data, but the person assigned to the data are completely separate. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like we have an enterprise product, so in the sense of not cannabinoids PGX, but our regular PGX for, let's say, just make up a name, Coca-Cola, with thousands of employees. Think about the cost savings and, more importantly, the savings of the employees. We call presenteeism and absenteeism. Presenteeism is when you're there, but you're not 100%. Absenteeism is obviously you're not there at all, and that's all derived in a lot of cases because the patient doesn't feel good. They're not on medication, they're not on the right medication. So when we look at that, we get an enterprise edition, a large corporation. They ask that same question that you did. How do we protect our data? That's the one thing we don't want. Nobody does. Well, I can tell you that data is completely separate. The name is never attached to the data itself. So that's one thing. Beyond that, let's say, it's not our company. Let's say they look at, so let's say 23andMe. A patient's going to have to identify is the risk versus the reward in a lot of cases too.
Oh, I love that, Andrew.
That's me, and I give you real talk here. Thursday and Friday of last week, I took 3 calls from 3 different patients, unbeknownst to me. Like, I did not give these patients my phone number. This is my personal cell phone number. I got 2 calls one day, 1 call the next day. Well, the mother called. Daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy at 14. She's 21, and the mom's at wit's end. I cannot remember the name of the medication that her daughter's been on. It's just not working. She didn't know anything about. She said, I grew up very strict. I don't know anything about marijuana. I don't know anything about CBD. I was told by a recommender that you could help me. And I go through the litany of things, and I said, listen, as a chief sales of anything, I can't in good conscience tell you to break the law.
Right.
But in Georgia, right now, you legally cannot purchase low-level THC oil.
It's crazy.
And she's like, I know. And I'm like, I'm not telling you what to do, but there are states, 33 of them total, that have either medical or recreational marijuana as an option.
Andrew, we use cannabis as the word.
Yeah, cannabis. Well, I thought we were in the States. We were in the States zone.
We are, but we use cannabis word.
But so for us, for me to tell her, I told her, I can't tell you to break the law. But right. You as a parent are going to have to make that distinction of what's more important to you. And that's completely up to you. And I'm not going to fault you either way with whatever your decision is. But here's the options. And so, at the end of the day, a patient's going to do what they feel comfortable doing. All I can do and ensure that if you go that route, here is the exact strain, Here is the exact dosage for you the first time. And because otherwise patients are going to go out there, veterans are going to go out there, they're going to, either buy it from a dealer on the street, or they're going to go to someone that has no idea of what they're doing, and they're like, well, this smells good to me. This is going to be the one. One size does not fit all. And, they can actually, again, exacerbate the conditions because they don't have the right medicine. And if we're going to really look at this like medicine, we need to think of it like medicine. I'm not going to take a antidepressant because I've got heartburn. I think the strains of cannabis are the exact same way. I got to take the right strain.
Couldn't agree more. We've got to really focus on that and bringing that to the forefront in our community. Andrew Wiseman, I can't say thank you enough, brother. Relief Genetics is really great at what you all are doing. We're really excited about potentially partnering with you all and bringing this to the forefront in our veteran community and also in the civilian world as well. If you want to close out, say a couple words to our listeners and maybe some contact information or a little bit about your company and how they can look you guys up, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for taking the time, brother. You're a true leader in this industry. I love your passion, love your ability to educate and inform the listening base, and we're really excited about doing business with you all.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of use this platform to not only talk about what we do, and in this case, talk about the event as well. Wednesday, Saturday, September 28th at the W at Midtown Atlanta, we're going to be hosting Georgia's first medical cannabis summit.
Wow.
We've brought in 12 speakers from throughout the country, because here's the challenge. As a recommender in the state of Georgia, there's no experience required. And so most physicians, when they talked about cannabis during med school, it was probably on the first or second day under drugs of abuse. And so, again, relating this to veterans, if I had PTSD and I came into a recommender, most likely this is not my first stop. I've stopped in other places. I've tried your normal SSRIs and they're not working, and whatever cocktail concoction they've put you on. How is that recommender going to treat you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I read about it. It sounds good, And so our goal is to put on an event where, nobody's judging anyone. The fact of the matter is there are people out in the country and out in the world that have a tremendous amount of experience in treating patients with medical cannabis. And this gives you a safe zone to ask those questions, hear from your peers, and it also gives the patients a great opportunity to hear the advantages of incorporating medical cannabis into your daily regimen. And so that's the goal of putting this on. The event's going to be again Saturday, the 28th of September at the W in Midtown. You can go online at Relief, spelled RELEAF, Genetics, GENETICS.com. That's going to direct you to our landing page for the summit. It's or you can go to Relief, RELEAF, short for conference.com. Tickets right now are on sale. I believe they're $60 per person. For the money, it's a phenomenal event, especially if you want to educate yourself. And Joshua, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of use your platform, and if I can assist in any way moving forward with this, I'd appreciate it. It'd be an honor. And if there's anything I can do for those people that are out there, let me know. You can look me up. My name is Andrew Wiseman. I'll be at the event if you come in, and we'd welcome to have you.
Well, Andrew, we can't say thank you enough. We're looking forward to seeing you there on the 28th of September. And we'll post your information on our website and our social medias as well, too. So thanks, everybody, for joining us today. You can find us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Apps. Come join us next time. Andrew, thanks again. You all take care and have a wonderful day.
Line over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.